Welcome to episode 87 of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. This week, Tracy and I review Vanity Train, a short miniseries from Cartoon Network. We really love this show, guys, so please give us a listen and give the show a watch. Thanks. Bye. Hello, welcome to another episode of Not Joanna Eggs. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Tracy.
And this week, we are super excited to talk about Vanity Train.
Yay! God, I was so excited to see this came out.
I was so fucking happy when I found out about it.
It's like, man, like, just watching that short, like, every now and then was, like, it made me so excited. Because, like, then finding out that it was actually getting its own miniseries and will hopefully be coming back soon. I think like, there's a very, like, teaser thing talking about it. It's just not.
Yeah, so I'm hoping it's not done. Even if it doesn't get sort of picked back up and all we have is this miniseries, I'm really happy to have this miniseries.
Yeah, it's extremely succinct. Like, very similar to, like, I would say Over the Garden Wall only in terms of, like, how tight the story is and how nuanced the characters are. Because, like, even for just 10 episodes, you get an extremely good overview of everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think it shares a fair number of similarities with Over the Garden Wall. Mm-hmm. I think the they're both very simple stylistically.
Yeah.
Like, it's not super adorned or anything, which I really dig.
And tonally, they're both very spooky. At least, like, Over the Garden Wall, much more so in, like, an actual, like, autumn or, like, Halloween-based kind of storytelling. Yeah. But, like, within the subject matter in this, like, it can be legitimately kind of scary sometimes. Like, especially if this is geared towards, like, that younger audience, too.
Sure. Well, and they're both in this sort of, like, weird sort of, like, space that seems to be sort of outside of the real world. Right?
Yeah.
And they're both dealing with, like, sort of complex issues for sort of, like, you know, adolescent characters, if you will.
For sure. I mean, like, just the actual delivery of them talking about the topic of divorce, like, it's within the first, like, 4 minutes, like, and even with the show like Hey Arnold, you don't really get something that's that frank. It would be like if Helga was stating to Miriam, "You are an alcoholic because you are in an abusive relationship. You need to leave him."
Right? Yeah.
But you couldn't do that back in the day, and they're actually framing this as like it's a big plot device.
No, and they're very like sort of frank about it in a number of ways, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just like, off the bat, one thing I wanted to sort of mention, well, there's a few things, but I think one that I wanted to mention is that I love that it starts in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And she's going to Oshkosh.
So I know that she's going to Oshkosh, but I couldn't tell if she was like from Minneapolis or something, because there's one line where she says 300 miles away is not just a hop, skip, and a jump or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was trying to, like, because I wanted to be like, you know, nitpicky and everything.
Of course.
I wanted to try to figure out where it would have been from. Like, I was thinking she might have been from like the Minnesota suburbs or something.
I mean,
but there's really no indication. It's just the Midwest. Let's just assume it's somewhere in the Midwest.
It's very generically, but also like pretty authentically Midwestern, right? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
I think they do a really good job, even in she's in the wilderness for like 5 minutes ish.
Yeah,
if that, because these episodes are 11 minutes apiece.
As two people from the Midwest, we know a snowy field when we see one, like all the cornfields and stuff, and like they definitely make that indicative because a lot of her walking around before she actually approaches the train itself is just like these really gorgeous but obviously barren fields surrounding it. So wherever she is, she's somewhere in the rural Midwest. Mm-hmm. We can establish that.
Yeah. I feel like it's Wisconsin, maybe because they lean so heavily into Oshkosh, but also like...
I know, but I secretly want it to be Chicago because it's like 300 miles away if you really go to like the Chicago suburbs.
Is Oshkosh 300 miles from Chicago?
Oh yeah. Oshkosh is way far north. It's like, it's nearly at Green Bay, man. I looked it up. I
mean, that doesn't tell me much, but here's the thing. Here's in a book. Like at a library.
Like a nerd.
Here's the thing I know is that it's 360 some miles from my mom's house in the suburbs to Carbondale.
To Carbondale.
So 300 miles is a lot of space, is my point.
No, I'm not doubting that. I'm saying, like, I mapped it out because I was trying to, like, the instant that they mentioned that, I was trying to figure out exactly where Oshkosh was, and I'm like, oh, it's there. And here's the thing, Oshkosh is not really a destination kind of wedding place, but it's like it's pretty much as close as you can get to, like, we're talking like Winnebago and like Appleton, and Appleton is home to like a big university and everything. It's not quite to Green Bay, but it's very far. And I know this because some of my cousins live in Green Bay, and I have a lot of trouble driving out there because it's just so far away.
When I was a kid, my great aunt and uncle lived in Oshkosh.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was sort of weird. It's always nice when they mention a place that you're familiar with, but Oshkosh was like a weird, for me, it was like this weird pull, right?
True. Yeah, very true. Yeah, because like right now where I am, it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes to drive there, which is only 168 miles. I thought it was farther away. So wherever she's coming from, Oshkosh is some kind of destination wedding place, I guess. So.
Well, I don't know if it's a destination wedding. She is going to game design camp.
I know,
which
but it's a destination design camp. I don't know if Oshkosh is known for that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the weirdest part. But that also brings up one of the other things I really enjoyed about her as a character.
Yeah.
And I think added a lot of depth is her, like, interest in creating games and programming.
Yeah, like, she's super into, like, STEM. It's really cool. Like, it's something that I would not have anticipated to see. Which is, I'm glad that they're doing it because it's very underserved. Like, there's a lot of programs that are geared towards girls trying to get more into it. And, like, seeing it depicted in a show like this is just amazing. Because, like, you would not have seen something like this, like, 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah, no. And she's super tight into it, right? There's the mention of, like, the science fair and all this other stuff that, like, really lets you... And she, like, tries to map out logic trees.
Yeah, it's like her entire thought process is, like, geared towards gamification of things. Like, whenever she's going through the train itself, it's pretty cool. Like, she thinks, like, how a video game player would.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Or gamer, as they're known.
As they are sometimes called. I also love... I just love that whole thing. So I guess, do we want to... I mean...
we can just do, like, I guess a very brief overview because, like, the thing is, number one, if you haven't seen this and you're listening to this, just do yourself a solid and just watch the entire thing. It's fairly readily available online from what I can see. Like, granted, I watched a lot of it on YouTube. Some kind soul uploaded it onto YouTube, so you can watch it on a playlist on there for at least the time being. But
yeah, I think you can get it in standard definition on Amazon Prime for, like, $3 for the digital files. So
get on it. Like, seriously,
that's not bad.
It's not hard to find, and it's totally worth your time because it's only 10 episodes, and they're each like 11 minutes, I think.
Yeah, 11, 12ish minutes. You know, the Adventure Time running
standard.
So, again, a lot like Over the Garden Wall.
Yeah, exactly. But, like, it's a breeze to get through it, and it's just kind of blows my mind the amount of character that they can get into them. Like, oh my god, One from, like, the instant that he's introduced, which is like this little tiny, like, basically like a softball-sized robot that he's just got these little vestigial legs. Like, one part of him is really happy, the other part's super depressing. So
yes,
a lot like Marvin.
Fun. Yeah, he very much is like if Marvin vacillated between the two extremes in Hitchhiker's Guide.
Or like the happy door was paired up with him. Or like the happy computer or whatever it was. Looks like we're about to hit that. We're all gonna die.
So here's a fun fact for you that I'm very glad I caught.
Go for it.
Because it's us. The creator, Owen Dennis, was the voice for Sad One.
Oh yeah. Par for the course. It's like for every we get another Jason Funderburker, but we get One throughout all the episodes.
Yeah. Oh my god, I loved One though.
He's
like
so many cute. Like
he's so cute and like
he does like he's obviously used his comic relief, but it's not to the point that like he will occasionally kind of mess stuff up, but not to the point that you get really frustrated and annoyed with him. Like you're like, no, he's trying to help and he's not being like a jerk about it.
Right. Well, and you can also, I think it becomes clear why, like, to some extent, why that he is so kind of weird by the end of it, right? Like,
yeah, it unravels. Like, I don't really want to spoil it. I will state this just because I think it's so short that you can easily get through this very quickly.
Oh yeah, no, I literally sat down today and just watched the whole thing without getting up, I think.
Damn. Okay. That's
so,
all right. I would have peed at least once, but that's just me. Unless you did pee once.
You know,
I peed in the couch.
I don't have a couch in my
room,
It
wipes
Tracy.
Off.
I peed in the bucket.
You peed in... That's the peeing bucket, and that's the bathroom bucket. They're the same bucket.
That's the peeing bucket. That's the puking bucket.
And that's a snuggling bucket.
That bucket. What is that bucket? I said don't ask. Anywho, so the very brief overview of this thing is that Tulip is supposed to go to game design camp, and because of a miscommunication between her parents who are divorced,
recently divorced, because they don't have the schedule down pat, and God, that is such an issue. That's every major holiday for me, because my parents are divorced, and well, your parents are divorced too. So, but granted, it
very recently.
Yeah, but it didn't happen when we were during our formative years. We should mention that.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really imagine the impact that it would have had on Tulip emotionally at that point. So but like she's still a 12-year-old. Like she's obviously like she's doing a lot of. Yeah, she's 12/13, I think. But,
that seems about right.
Yeah, but it's just like, obviously she's lashing out because she doesn't know how to communicate with them and everything. Because she's also frustrated, but, you know, I get it.
Well, they, again, like, I think what makes this, like, miniseries so good and so impactful is how, like, honestly and, like, what's the word here?
It's not ham-fisted. It's very subtle in how it does its message. It's very realistic, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's the truth of it that really like hits me is that it feels very real. Like, like I really love Tulip as a character, but I think one of the things that like solidifies her as a character, as like a really well-written character for me, is the way she can oscillate between like being a goof, being a goofy kid, and like really seriously thinking about things. Like, one of my favorite jokes is still the very beginning. Mm-hmm. She's like trying to figure out this thing in her game, and she's like, "Thanks, guide to beginning computing book. Or whatever."
Yeah,
the little coding book, and she's like, "Thank you, Tulip, with the money you've given me to my book, I can finally get this ferret off my face." Like, it's just such a goofy, dumb kid joke, right?
She can have a very silly sense of humor, but she can sometimes take herself too seriously, or she takes things too personally, or whatever. It's like, it should be noted that in the beginning of the series, she kind of just isolates herself from her family just because she wants to, like, she uses that as an excuse to not have to deal with it, so.
Yeah, her game is definitely, like, I think that her game is, like, a passion project, but it also, like, I think we see this in one of the later episodes.
Yeah, it's a very convenient excuse for her escapism too.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So the very brief overview of this thing is that she's supposed to go to game design camp. She can't because of a miscommunication between her divorced parents.
Yeah.
So then she decides to go on her own, stumbles upon this massive train, which turns out to be a series of train cars which are fully like realized, conceptualized environments in and of themselves.
Yeah, they're like their own autonomous environments that she can just interact with.
Right, and so she has to like get through these. Sometimes that requires like some kind of like puzzle solving, loosely speaking.
Yeah.
Or there's some sort of hiccups in the way, like
she has to solve some kind of problem or figure out some kind of solution generally. Or help someone to be able to get through it.
Right. And what she notices pretty quickly is that she has a number on her right hand, which changes at different times, and it takes her a while to really figure out what causes that and what that means.
It is cool that like they keep it secret for so long too, which
they do really good.
It's very rewarding to like, because when you figure it out, you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, and it's super cool. So
yeah,
that I don't want to give too much more away. Like I don't want to give away anything about like certainly about the conductor as a character.
Yeah, because there's a couple of. I mean, we can mention the steward because the steward was included with the original pilot, whatever, which is so scary. It's like
I fucking loved the steward. It was so cool.
It was like it was so bizarre because watching it move around was like watching No Face from Spirited Away, but it was just made out of like metal coils. I'm like,
it's
oh,
like
that's scarier somehow.
If No Face was made out of like snakes and wires.
Oh god, it was so, and like I love that they incorporated separate the sounds of like cicadas because like they do sound so otherworldly and creepy, and then when you combine them with like metal sounds and everything, you're like, ugh. Like,
yeah, like if you didn't know the sound of a cicada and you suddenly just heard that screaming,
yeah,
I could easily see someone being freaked out.
Yeah,
Thank God for yearly cicadas.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks a lot, boys, for nothing. The weird creepy dog things that have like the leech faces that suck life away from people.
Oh, yeah. So
there's a lot to unpack on those.
I referred to those as just giant cockroaches because that's what they reminded me of.
Oh yeah, very much so.
I hate them. I hate them. I hate them a lot.
They reminded me visually, it was like a halfway cross between like a leech or a cockroach and the weird like the demodogs from Stranger Things. If you've seen that, like these weird like creepy, like the Demogorgon dogs that chase after the kids or whatever. Yeah, okay, but there was in season 2 there was like a dog version of it or whatever that I think Dustin had or something. But yeah, it looked very similar to that to me.
Yeah, so, I can see that comparison.
Yeah.
I think the implications of those things, based on the end of it where Atticus gets turned into one.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I'm wondering, is that... Yeah, first of all, that moment.
Yeah, also, we haven't mentioned Atticus.
We haven't mentioned
we
Atticus.
We have to mention Atticus, which we will in great detail after this point.
Yeah, so he gets turned into this big cockroach thing, and I'm wondering, does that perhaps suggest that the ones that dwell outside the train are like lost citizens or denizens of the train?
Yeah, I got that impression too, because I was like, oh no, like what I gleaned from it was that they must have been people that were in the trains before that had either helped other people or something like that were turned into them. Because granted, at the point that Tulip found them, they were still in the middle of nowhere. So that means that they'd been living somewhere out in the Infinity Train void, wherever it exists.
Right.
Just existing. Meaning that like either that happened to them a long time ago or recently, and they're like the area surrounding it is so vast that they're everywhere. Which is even scarier to me.
Yeah, no, it's horrifying to think about. So, Atticus.
Yeah, Atticus,
Let's talk
the best
about
character
Atticus.
in the show. I adore him so much. So Atticus is the king of Corginia. Is that it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, who is the king and uniter of the Pembrokes and the Cardigans, which are of course two different types of corgis. Mm-hmm. And he is the best boy, voiced by Ernie Hudson.
I was so excited
nice to
find out that it was Ernie Hudson. He makes me smile just existing, kind of.
He's just a great time. I don't know how else to say it, but yeah, I love me some Ernie Hudson.
I do also love so I loved Atticus. He's fantastic for obviously like a number of reasons, particularly the jokes about him just being a dog.
Oh yeah, and and how matching that up with how formal he is when he talks about things. He's like, "Please excuse our interruptions. We usually get very excited when someone new comes to the door."
Yes, I love that.
Every single one, it just got me.
I can't decide which one I like more. The "Do you want to go out?" or the joke when they're in like the crystal car and he's like, "Why don't we take a nap and think about it?" And she's like, "I feel like a lot of your suggestions are napping." And he goes, "Well, I am a dog."
I like them both. I really like the one wanting to go outside because I just found myself quoting that a lot fairly recently.
That's a good one. I lied. I think my favorite is, "We are proud people and we don't like to be held."
Oh yeah.
Why would that matter?
Why do I need to know that?
And she's just like, "God, hold still. God, just 2 seconds."
Because she has to carry him across the river and he's just fidgeting. He's like, "Nope. No. We are proud people. We don't like to be picked up."
Yes, I love that so much.
There's so much about him that I really enjoy. He's like when he's talking to the Turtle King when they get into the weird unfinished car. He's just like, "Well, the doctrine of walkies states that we need to like just everything that he talks about is just structured around him being a dog, which is like
so good.
It could be one note in a series that wasn't as well written as this is. But
yeah, I agree.
It's so charming. Like he's such an interesting character because he's the as silly as one can be, like, Atticus is very much the voice of reason going on within all of this, because
I would say so.
Tulip, as likable of a character as she is, can be extremely stubborn and wants to, like, she believes that things should be one way. Like, things aren't always rational within the universe of the Infinity Train. So when it doesn't work out, she's like, she can get very frustrated.
Yeah,
so,
that's her problem, right? Because like you said this earlier, and it's a pretty good point, which describes her character, is that she's trying to approach this as though like it's a video game, right?
Yeah.
That has a certain like rules and logic to it. But as she goes on, she finds that that's not the case, right? And so she gets very frustrated with it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be kind of seen as like an analog to Alice in Wonderland, because Alice sort of attempts to do the same thing too, but eventually she just kind of has to embrace how crazy her surroundings are, similar to how Tulip does. But there is still there's a lot more order in Infinity Train than Wonderland, don't get me wrong.
I think also...
it's not as nonsensical, we'll say that.
Yeah, well, the other thing I think that's important there is, like, Tulip has a lot more sort of, like, meta-knowledge about the way things should or would work in her mind than I think Alice would in Wonderland.
Yeah, fair. Because, like, yeah, I mean, they're both within, like, different universes than what they're used to, but, like, Tulip is a lot more pragmatic than Alice would have been. We'll say that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But, goddamn, I just love Atticus so much.
He's so good.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to mention real quick is, I mean, this is like a small note, but
no worries.
There's something about the music in this.
Dude, it's like,
I think it does a good job evoking the same sort of sense of, like, the same sort of emotive sense as, like, the Stranger Things theme, and you won't have this reference point, but, like, the Adventure Zone theme from
honestly,
Balance.
Yeah, I would have also said, to an extent, like, some of the themes for Blade Runner. And
also,
sure.
Well, that makes sense.
And also just basically any like general 80s synth thing. Like it's very like Monster Movie of the Week, I would say. Like
it kind of does
that
feel
time
that way.
in the 80s for sure.
Yeah. Well, so that's a question maybe that I want to throw out there is, when do we think this takes place? Because we know cell phones exist.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's got to be modern, right? Like we don't really see her taking out a smartphone. Like she has a flip phone. So
yeah. So it's like it might not be, like, now, but it's not far off.
Wait, was it a flip phone when her dad texted her? I could have sworn that it was.
I feel like it was, too, but I also remember him, like, using an emoji.
Yeah, but there would have been, like, old-timey smileys, too, I guess. But I don't know. I would say that it's still relatively modern. It's got to be within the last 15 to 20 years, I would say.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to gauge because, like, you're in a rural area, and so, like, rural areas tend to be like a little behind,
and also
more
the computer
areas, right?
Yeah, for sure. And also it should be noted that the game that she's programming appears to be like a very archaic, like 8-bit kind of, like Atari style.
It looks like
game.
Space Invaders.
Yeah, she's trying to make Space Invaders basically. Like even the sprites that she recreates when she's in the first room on the grid car are very similar to that.
Yeah, her bad guys sprites are absolutely like a version
they're extremely similar. Like, to the point that they're almost public domain, basically. But, yeah.
Oh, well, so one thing I noticed, because they call attention to it a few times, although it doesn't hold, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, in the first, I want to say, like, 3 or 4 cars that we see them in, there's jokes about people not having opposable thumbs.
Oh, yeah, because of the cat character that comes up, who's kind of a recurring antagonist.
Yeah, sort of. She's an I really like the cat character at the end of it.
I mean, she's definitely a con artist character. Where,
I always...
they're
there's
fun.
There's just a soft spot in me for those characters to some extent.
It's like they're great in media, but not in real life. I'll say that.
Well, because in media, they can often be softened by, like, not being a total piece of shit. Whereas if you meet a con artist in real life...
They usually work on Wall Street.
Yeah, and there's a good chance that you're not going to get to know whether or not they're a piece of shit. You're probably just going to have to go ahead and assume that they are.
Because of the facade thing. But hey, it's teaching children to be wary about strangers, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, but so there's a few jokes about no one having thumbs. Like, there's the joke in the first episode, and then there's the joke in Corgania, and then there's the one when they go to the crystal room where she has to sing. she's like, all right, are you guys going to help me build a ladder? And they all, like, shake their hands. And she's like, right, no thumbs.
I love the crystal dude, by the way, like the silent one. He was so fun. I loved him so much. He was so great, like, because when they get to the crystal room, they have to, like, sing a particular song, like, and I don't really understand there must have been some kind of, like, backstory for why they used Word Up by Cameo as the song I mean, no, there has to be some reason, right?
Oh, like, so this is why I'm hoping for the special features, right?
Oh, yeah, to have it expanded on or something.
I'm hoping that we get, like, because they did this with Over the Garden Wall. They released it immediately on Amazon, and then, like, something like 6 months later, you could get it on DVD, which I have it on DVD somewhere in this house.
Also, check out the art book. The art book is phenomenal.
For Infinity Train or Over the Garden Wall?
For Over the Garden Wall. I will probably be getting the one for Infinity Train when it comes out, but I saw the one for Over the Garden Wall at a Barnes & Noble probably like 6 months ago, I'd say.
Snatch that shit right up.
I should have, but it was like $45. I didn't have the money at that time.
I love art books so much, but they are so much more expensive than I want them to be.
They are an investment, I will say that.
They are, but, you know, I have my giant Kiki one that I got from Tracy, which I do love.
Yes, I think I've got one from you too.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I think I got you. I don't remember what I got you. Anywho,
yeah, it's fine.
Enough of our patting ourselves on the back.
No, it's okay. Well, actually, I would like to transition into another thing in a second, too.
It.
Okay. I wanted to say that, like, so we obviously see a very vast array of different cars, but I wanted to know if, out of the cars that we saw, and then out of potential future cars, which ones would you like to be in the most? So you have to pick one that they showed on the show, and then one in, like, that you can just come up with.
All right, so I think the one, I mean, it's tough for me to choose which one I would want to be on the show.
The duck one?
No, that's a good joke. It would probably be between Corgania and the Playroom.
Oh, God, the ball pit one.
The ball pit. Because
so
I think...
Cool.
Yeah, the ball pit was super cool, and because it's a ballroom in, like, an imaginary world, it's not like a real ball pit, which now as an adult I look at and go, my God, there's no way I'm not going to get sick being inside of this, right?
Yeah, because everything is just covered in germs.
Germs and potentially other things.
I've
heard horror stories.
Yeah. You mean kids peeing in the ball pit? Just say pooping. It. Yeah, and pooping. It happened at DashCon. It's going to happen in real life.
Yeah.
And I'm implying DashCon is not real life.
I mean,
it was a fever dream that was collectively experienced by 1,000 people.
Yeah, I think it's a weird form of internet mass hysteria. Anywho,
and it happened in Rosemont. What the fuck? Or Schaumburg, whatever it was. Yeah.
What the fuck? We could have gone to that.
No, yeah, but we didn't. I remember seeing the people posting about it, being like,
"We're being the right choice."
I remember seeing people saying, "We're being extorted for money. Please call the police."
Yeah, right. The other thing I would love about the Playroom car is Khaki Bottoms, who was...
Oh, God. Fucking Ron Funches is, like, the best.
Criminally cute.
Yeah. Fantastic.
But also Corgania, I just get to hang out with a bunch of corgis, like...
Yeah, I mean, like, what's not to like?
That sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of cars I would like to make up, it would be one similar to the Dungeons and More Dungeons episode of Gravity Falls.
Oh, God, that would be so fun. So, like, basically going to a tabletop one. Like, you're basically exploring and playing as an actual tabletop character within the car.
Yeah, I want one in which either I get to run around and be like a tabletop character, or I get to play a tabletop game, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Style, where there's these giant, massive holograms that I can actually visually watch, and that would be dope as shit.
I can't believe I lost a children's trading card game.
Screw the rules. I have money.
I have green hair. I agree. That does sound pretty fun. I would.
So what are yours then?
Oh, jeez.
Back on you.
No, yeah, it's fine. So one that I would really like, okay, I'll say the ones that I would prefer. I really liked Corgania, obviously, because dogs.
Yeah.
But I also just like the straight up Italy car because I want to know what the backstory is.
I'm
so curious about that because whatever that character was about, like the bakery and everything, I'm like, I need to know because she's got a weird flower head.
Yeah, right. Well, what I think is interesting, and I'm sure this is just meant to be a sight gag, but was her head not a tulip?
No, it was a rose. I'm pretty sure it was a rose.
Damn it!
Yeah, it looked like if it was a tulip, it would have just been like straight up, like a little. It would have looked like a wine glass made out of flowers. But hers was definitely a rose. No, it would have been a fun throwback, but it might have been too on the nose. So,
I mean, maybe
I don't know. As for a car that I'd like to go into, I would secretly like to be in one that would either allow me to climb onto a bat. That would be really cool, like to fly with them and watch them eat shit. But like, not like have like mosquitoes fly at my face, but just like see what they do,
Sure.
But
just hang out with a bat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or like it would have to be like I'd have to help them eat so many moths or something, or other small bugs to be able to advance. Or like honestly, like a really cool neon car sounds fun. Like basically just like Hotline Miami without the violence.
When you said the bat see what they do thing, all I can think of is that joke of virtual reality in The Simpsons. Hello, Lisa. I'm Genghis Khan. You'll travel with me. Kill who I kill. Eat who I eat.
Pillage who I pillage. Eat who I eat.
I love that joke so fucking much.
Yeah, she was so optimistic.
Ah, yeah, she was.
Poor Lisa, our beautiful nerd. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think the neon one would just be kind of fun. I just want to kind of be
that'd be cool.
I want to be in a not shitty version of Blade Runner 2049. Like, if things turned out okay, that would be kind of fun. At least for a day. Sure.
Just for a day.
Yeah,
Well, so that actually brings up, so I do want to bring this up real quick, and we don't have to dwell on it, but I'm sort of curious about, how do you think time, I'm curious about time in this thing, because she talks about being in there for, like, days and I think weeks even.
I think it got to the point that it was months by the time that they got to the play place, honestly.
Yeah, I think you're right. But then the question that we don't get sort of a clear sense of is time after that for her back in the real world, right?
Oh, you mean like what it is relative to the real world time? I would say it can't be that much, right? Like if we're...
Yeah, that's kind of my thought.
Yeah.
Right, is that, like, there must be some impetus or something that, like, just kind of shoves her back maybe, like, where she left or something.
Yeah, I mean, like, it appeared to be that it was at least sunrise the next day by the time that, by the time she actually... is that kind of a spoiler? I don't know.
Well, I think we can just say that she gets back without...
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. She gets back at one point, and it does appear to be daylight by the time she gets there. So, we'll say that. I don't think that that's too much.
It also looks like she got a haircut, so I wonder if that's
not
it did.
Like, right away. But... I'm assuming that, they did state that it was several months after the fact.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Sure. So, yeah, I don't want to say too much about, like, specifically the conductor reveal, because I think that's...
It's such an important part of the story, and that, like, it's tied to more so a lot of other things, and it's not... I don't want to be the one to have to, like, ruin that for someone.
So I'd rather they just watch it. Because the series just came out, I think we can safely say, like, we're not going to spoil that bit, but obviously, like, the conductor, shocker, in a miniseries about a train, the conductor is an important character.
Yeah, oddly enough.
Who'da thunk?
But yeah, I would say just like in general, the thing that appeals to me the most about this is not just because like it's obviously filling the hole in my heart that happened after Gravity Falls was like canceled or ended, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
Huge, like in terms of the emotional beats and kind of like just the overall sort of flow of the mystery aspect of it. That was awesome. Yes, please give me some, put it in my veins. Fine with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. It's mostly that you'd think that the gimmick behind having a bunch of different train cars with different things would get boring. Like similar to, I heard that was kind of a thing with Pinky and the Brain after a while, that people just kind of got fed up, that it's always the same idea, but it's just the way that he gets there is supposed to be the thing that's interesting. But I don't see that with Infinity Train, because there's always new challenges that are going to be coming from it. And it's not about her just trying to keep achieving the same goal and everything. She always keeps taking on these new goals and learning new things about herself by encountering the cars. So I think that's more dynamic. She's a much more engaged character, I would say.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, what I love so much is that, like, at the end of the day, it does a good job of, like, just the journey aspect of a story.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, it's both a literal journey and it taps into... Every Frame Painting did a video about left and right as, like, a metaphor, and I think it obviously does that because any train narrative can do that pretty easily.
For sure.
But yeah, I think just being able to tap into and use both the emotional and literal journey from one end of the train to the other.
Yeah, because she does have a lot of emotional maturity in this too.
Oh, so much.
It's like seeing like how she's able to take things on from her parents' perspective and everything, as opposed to before, like how kids naturally will get kind of defensive and everything when divorce stuff is brought up or they think it's their fault or something. And they really do approach that a lot, and it's not in a ham-fisted way, which is so nice. It was so refreshing to see that.
In terms of Olive's journey, if there's one moment that really kind of hits me.
Tulip's journey?
Olive. God, why is Olive in my head? Tulip. If there's one moment in Tulip's journey that really hits me, I think it's the memory episode where she's staring into her memories and she's remembering these big beats, but because of the nature of the train, it's altering them to be happy memories. And so she's remembering and like rewatching the moment at which her parents told her they were separating. And there's just something so powerful in that scene when she is reflecting back on that and going, I remember being in this emotional state at this time.
Yeah.
And I definitely the things I said are not how I felt.
Yeah, because the whole thing of like she's trying to like be defensive and like trying to throw it onto them and everything. It's like, no, it's because you're hurting and you don't know how to explain this to them. And it's like it's just so important to see that kind of stuff being laid out. Absolutely. Because it may as well have been her having like a therapy session, you know? And it's extremely powerful because she could have surrounded herself with just just basically lies, like projections of things that maybe she wanted to happen, but she's like, no, ultimately this is what happened. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. You have to learn from it, you know, grow from it, and then you become more united as a family anyway, because like she's allowing them to feel the way that they feel and not making it about her, which is like it's just a huge beat. Absolutely. And it's awesome. Yeah, like I really can't recommend this enough. And I would say honestly, the hype is real. It's not the funniest thing, but when the humor hits, it really hits.
Oh yeah, I think when the humor is there, it's great. Like without saying too much about episode 9, I think one of my favorite things is, so we sort of mentioned that Atticus gets turned into one of these things, the cat, who, by the way, played by Red from Orange is the New Black.
Oh, dang. Yeah, I was going to say, it seemed like they were going for an Eartha Kitt style thing with her, like very deliberately. Like her calling Tulip kitten. Seems very deliberate.
there's a very deliberate like evocation of some other like character, right?
Yeah.
But she like leads Olive on this journey, which tells her like, hey,
Tulip. You called her Olive again.
I don't know why that's in my head right now.
I don't know. Like honestly, I kept thinking of Orphan Tulip from Storks because this is the second Tulip that we've loved that's also been a redhead.
I really need to watch Storks again.
We gotta watch it. It's so good.
I know.
Like we should do a commentary thing for that. That one's so good. But anyway.
Yeah.
But no, it's Tulip.
But it's Tulip. I know it's Tulip. My brain's saying Olive.
Okay. You need to overpower your brain.
I'm trying. The cat takes Tulip on this journey to show her how she might be able to fix Atticus. And it's so funny because afterwards Tulip's like, you couldn't just tell me that? And the cat just goes, but where's the showmanship in that?
It's in the presentation, kitten. Like, and honestly, I agree because you feel it better, even though. I just like that Tulip. She's just so narrow focused, and that she's like, no, just tell me what it is, and I'll do it.
Yeah, no, it's straight laser focus.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to point out one of the cutest moments for me at the very end for Tulip. Tulip. Before she leaves as she's about to leave the train, one goes, wait, hug first.
That was so cute. I love that.
The cutest fucking thing.
It's very, very sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, like just I just like them all. I think I'm actually gonna make a 1/1 plush because I'm trying to get better at sewing like ball shaped things because I've never been good at it. So I've made a Jigglypuff. She looks very good so far. But I want to make a 1/1 because he's extremely like simple and everything.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I would love to see if there's a way that they could like, if they eventually end up merchandising this, which I secretly hope that they do, if they make a plastic version of 1/1 that you can like unclip or something that make the two separate. Of him. That would be so cool. Like I could see how they would do it too. But I don't know. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be so great. I would love that so much.
There's so much potential in this show. That's why I like it so much. Like, there's so much that they can do with it, and they didn't shy away from any of it.
No, I think they really just hit it hard, and like there's plenty of room for more things to happen, to do a more of a longer series. But I think what we have even is just so good. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
those are my thoughts. I've hit all my
That's mine too. I mean,
special notes.
I think we can. This one's probably pretty succinct. Like, I just don't have enough. Like, we don't have enough time in the day to talk about how much we love this.
Yeah, I can't really gush enough about this show. So if you have not seen it yet, please go watch it.
Yeah, do yourself a solid. You can easily get through it. Like, I think it's like maybe 2 hours, like 2.5 hours.
It's just about 2 hours.
Yeah. So it's like, just treat it as though you're just watching a movie. Like, you can find a playlist or just, get the episodes online somewhere, like whatever. Just watch it. It's really, really good.
It's great.
Yeah.
So, that being the case, Tracy, where do they find you online?
Thank you, Robbie. They can find me on Twitter and Instagram via @TCTroush. You can find our show website via notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com. We are also on YouTube. We are on, like Stitcher, iTunes, like Podbean.
Anywhere you can get your podcasts.
Yeah,
we're also
any
on Spotify,
podcatcher.
if that's easier for you.
Yeah, we are on the Spoofy. Yeah, like we're all over the place. So
exactly.
That's probably the best way to find us. But I'd say, like, honestly, Twitter is probably the easiest way to contact me if that's the thing that you want to do.
Yeah.
And Robbie, where can they find you?
As always, I am at @lobster_writer on Twitter and lobsterwriter on Instagram. Also, so not this week, but starting...
Well, at the time when this is being released anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, starting in September, I'm part of this big thing called International Podcast Month. So I'll have an episode coming out for that, as well as 2 blog articles, which I'll obviously link to that at some point and mention them probably when they're out.
Is that for International Podcast Month? Is that with a different show, like with the D&D one that you were working on?
Yes, that was the D&D one shot that I did, so you'll hear me on that.
Cool. Sounds neat. So yeah, keep your ear out for that, fam.
Yeah, it's a good one. I had a lot of fun working on it.
Absolutely. Sounds cool. And and honestly, if you do, if you listen to this episode and end up watching Infinity Train, please tell us what you think.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we I mean, honestly, and even if you didn't, if you didn't care for it, I don't know how, but that's fine. You can still talk to us about it if you want. Because I just want to see either if there's something that maybe you didn't like or a thing that you think that they could expand on more. Let's talk about it. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Call to action. Anyway. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Don't forget your donut holders.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of Not Joanna Eggs. Our intro music is Don't Hold My Breath by Ben Briggs, and the outro is Wet Dreams by Phonetic Hero. Both were found on ocremix.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please remember to like and subscribe on whatever platform you use. Not Joanna Eggs, because animation is for everyone. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, all right, let's do this. Let's do this thing.
All right.
Do you
am I doing it?
I don't care. We didn't discuss it. We never discuss it.
We often discuss it.